So yeah, we get the bromance montage, and we also have the song. Like, I don't know if you got subtitles for the musical parts. I did.
Like basically, will their friendship last and stuff like this? Are they going to betray each other?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the music is essentially telling you what the storyline is going to end up culminating to. Like, we know they're going to have to fight. So the coincidences just don't stop, do they? Like, the two people chasing each other become best friends, and now the exact person he needs to infiltrate the exact building he needs to get his sister back, he just so happens to have a romantic engagement with, and then they don't speak the same language at all, and somehow he still manages to find out that Mally is living with this woman. It's like nutty how lucky he must have been for this set of circumstances. And I can't criticize it. It's still amazing. I love it. And this is the Mally realization is it's like a gunshot to the tone of the film, because it's all really nice and all this, and you're like, oh, Beam's gonna smash, love it. And then she says Mally, and even the music, it's like, boom, let's go, like, tension now. And then he runs, he makes a bracelet really quickly. Like,
just a reminder that a child was kidnapped in this movie.
Exactly. It's literally like, this movie is not just a joke. This movie is not just something to laugh at. There is some real shit going on, and it's a literal, like, boom. You know, you are immediately reminded. Immediately. Can we talk about this party scene?
Yeah, the dancing. Yeah.
Oh my God. Honestly, since watching this movie the first time, because I've watched it a second time now for the podcast, since watching it the first time, I have listened to that song maybe at least once a day since. Today I listened to it like 10 times because I fucking love it. Nacho means dance in Hindi in the because I didn't watch, because we got Netflix, so we can't watch it in the original dub. But in the original dub, it would be Nattu. But this fucking song is amazing. The dance is amazing. I cannot find fault with this sequence in terms of just pure enjoyment. I love it.
Like, I was actually at this point when they started dancing, I was like, these guys are fucking talented. Like, not only are they actors, and they're doing action scenes, they're also dancing and singing as well. It's like,
oh, dude,
what can't they do?
This is the nature of India, man. Like, Indian cinema, you got to act, you got to dance, you got to sing.
Expectations are high. If you can't do one of those things, you can't be in Indian cinema.
No, you have to do all of those things to be in Indian cinema. That's the thing. You know, all of that's expected of you. You can't just coast by on being a single threat. You got to be a triple threat. It's crazy how talented some of these people are. It's insane. And the talent really is on display in this movie, and especially in this scene. You know, you've got this guy who's like, oh, fucking, oh, why are you bringing your Indian into the party? And then she's all, your Indian friend in a party in India, how can you invite him? And then it's like, he's like, he accuses Indian people of not knowing what true art is. And like, immediately, the moment you start making him racist, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, someone needs to punch him. No one needs to punch him. We can do better. We can prove him wrong. It's so much better.
And he does the whitest dancing possible. I think, does he start line dancing or something? What does he do?
Does flamenco, I think, at one point. But like, he does all of this fucking shit. They were doing the waltz beforehand. But then fucking Ram just sort of busts in out of nowhere. starts banging on the fucking drum, and then comes up and he's like, waltz, no, flamenco, no, my brother. But do you desenach? Oh, he's great. He's so cool. He's so cool in that scene. And then the music hits, and it's fucking amazing. It's literally the best shit ever.
And it's funny is like there's also there's one black guy. I think he's the only black guy in the entire film, and he plays the drums. And like the entire time this is going on, he's just got this look like, oh. And then I think he like he starts playing the drums after Ram asked this question. I think he takes over. Like I think they're also like an acknowledgement that like these white guys think that their culture is like the number one. Like they don't know shit. They don't know anything else.
Exactly. It's something that he would have experienced too. So it
makes it
like this look of recognition
thing, an international like look, these fucking British guys thinking they're the top of everything and they're just ignoring everything else, even though they're in control of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. In my notes, I've got fuck white people are so racist. These bakers look like absolute cunts, and it doesn't get helped by how bad the acting is. If that makes it so much worse, it's like how fucking hell they're shit in real life. They're still shit. Even if it is just a performance, it's still a terrible performance. But this dance, though, defies the laws of physics. It's insane, this dance. I need to learn this dance. I want to desi natch with you. At some point, we need to like meet up, and we're going to do a desi natch. We're going to see who can hold out the longest. Because, go on.
I was just going to say, I think Ram pretends to fall at some point.
Exactly. Well, this is exactly what I was going to say. He's a solid wingman again. Once more, Ram the wingman. What a guy.
That rhymes. Almost, kind of.
Almost, sort of. It's got a ring to it at least. But yeah, what a wingman. What a wingman. I got to love that though. So like, you've got the last three of them like dancing, and then the white guy drops out. And then the two of them celebrate like, yeah, we've made our point. There's a natch, motherfucker. And then the music slows down and they just look at each other in slow motion. And it's like, we got to see who's going to win. And yeah, Ram the wingman, sorts him out and falls over to impress the girl. It's sort of weird. Like, so after this, right, we get like another scene where like Bean meets the woman, but she drives down and picks up Bean, and then it's really weird how that green paint, green paint is like a really surprising important plot point. Well, I'm like, what? It really threw me because I don't feel like they set that up.
Yeah, I think that remember you said earlier that maybe there was some scenes that were cut. I think maybe there was something cut there to have made that bigger. Really? Also, I don't know, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense. Also, I wonder about his name in the same way. If remember we said earlier that maybe because all of a sudden he's suddenly known as Ram, but at the beginning is Raju. I think maybe there could have been some scenes cut there too that could have maybe.
But do you really think that this many scenes were cut? Because if they were, this would have been like a 4-hour movie.
It's possible.
Maybe, yeah, it is possible. Maybe. It actually wouldn't surprise me.
We can also mention, another thing is that thinking again that this is a 3-hour movie, and we just watched Justice League before. And what other films have we done? Recent ones? I can't remember. Doesn't matter.
Well, Justice League is good 4 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, but my point, everything, it doesn't matter where you are across the world. Everyone's making huge, massive, long films now.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, guys, you're doing
making the podcast harder.
Yeah, you're making our job harder. Stop it.
Yeah. Hollywood, heed our warning. Start making half-hour movies so our podcast can go down to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So we get to Bean infiltrating the house then. After that, he goes back with the girl. I feel like the interiors of this house look like just a large dollhouse. I don't think the interiors. Maybe I'm wrong, but like the interior doesn't look. It just looks a bit fake to me. But
I didn't think too much about that, but maybe you're right. Yeah.
just look like a dollhouse. Like the way that she got like a fucking tea party set up for like a group of people, and there's no one there, and I'm like, that's like a dollhouse, like it. It was too like it sort of looked in use, and there was no one using it, and that's a dollhouse. I don't know how else to describe it. Really, it just felt, it just didn't feel real to me. But this is the thing. So in this scene, Beam sort of sneaks off and finds Mally, right? And when I was first watching it, I was thinking, all right, we're gonna get some John Wick level shit, and he's gonna bust her out, and he doesn't. He doesn't, and he could have as well, but he's got a bigger plan, because obviously, in his opening scene where he fights a tiger, which we haven't mentioned, by the way, he fights a tiger in his opening scene, which is mental. That wasn't to hunt the tiger or whatever, it's to use the tiger later on. So there is a grander plan that they're setting up to. But if he had rescued Mally here, you could have shaved an hour off the runtime.
Yeah, I think he should have just done it. I don't know. I get. Yeah, I see what you mean about the bigger plan, which we're going to get to in a minute.
Yes.
But it did feel early on at the very beginning when they're setting the film up that the only motive was for Mally. Later, when we find out that he's been meeting with these guys who are also from the same area as him, who are like kind of like revolutionary guys who Raju does meet at one point early on, which leads to the train scene. It doesn't, despite him having some connections to these guys, it didn't feel like it was as big as motivation. For Beheem, it feels more like, revolution will be good and everything, but it's not as important as like getting Mally back. I don't know. So it felt a bit strange for me that he didn't just do it, like, because I really think he probably could have. He could have just busted her out easily. I think
so. We know he's got John Wick powers, so yeah, I'm down. I would have bought that in this moment. But in all fairness, I mean, when he leaves Mally, after this scene, we have him, like, as you say, he's talking to like these other revolutionaries. And I feel like the best line, or one of my favorite lines in the film, is delivered here, where he says, "Don't these white women bear children?" And I'm like, so it's like, it's like, don't they understand the pain that they're causing us by taking her? Like, can't they relate to us in any sense? And I think it's such a poignant line. It really, I was like, oh, that cut me deep. That one cut me deep. And this is the thing. I feel like the bromance, because we've had a lot of the bromance, it's been a massive distraction from how brutal the movie actually is, and how brutal and driven both of these characters are as well. The bromance really, it sort of ignores the plot. We literally stop the plot just to see these two characters care about each other, which I think is interesting, like in terms of structure anyway.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but at the same time, it's necessary to establish. So when Raju betrays Beheem, it's got more strength to it. Otherwise, you don't really. It's not really. Doesn't really matter.
Believe you, I'm not complaining about it. I just feel that it's it's very like it's been such a huge distraction. Like this scene where they're talking about, where we see him trying to find Mally and stuff, and we see this moment between him and Mally. all like that's a massive reminder from the beginning of the film. Like all of the scenes we've had up until this point have been very, friendly, nice, light-hearted, and it's almost like you'd forgotten, oh yeah, we're actually watching a movie set in a really difficult time in India, where people were massively exploited, treated like crap, and we've forgotten about it up until this point. And here we've had this really quite brutal reminder, and it's good. It's interesting because it's a structure I'm not used to.
Maybe we have to think as well, like our way of looking at film is that it always has that structure, but when it comes to Indian cinema, even the whole thing can be a whole way of understanding about how a film really should be can just be thrown out the window, because the structure, the whole idea of how a film should be laid out could be completely different.
Well, I mean, I don't actually see the structure of this does quite remind me of like Shakespeare, the sort of two people who have a secret, don't know each other as well as they think they do, and then there's a betrayal or whatever. Like it's very Shakespearean. Like it's sort of reminding me of, there's shades of Macbeth in there, but there's also shades of Twelfth Night in there. Like, so there's some more Western influence, but it's pretty old school influence. But it's sort of that there is this sort of this dramatic weight that these two guys are going to end up having to kill each other.
Yeah, but instead they team up, which is nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's so much more fun. I was going to say, Sita, the Ram's. Well, what do you think she is?
Yeah. So this is a bit. This
weird,
comes
right?
up a lot later in the film, at least halfway in. Maybe even a bit even further, because we finally get some backstory on Raju and how his father was a revolutionary, kind of grew up in the jungle till he was a certain age, and then his father's trying to train like an army, and then he gets murdered. And Borsa Raju is a really excellent shot with a gun. And then he kind of goes undercover and goes, he just joins the British Army, but with I wouldn't say really undercover, really. I mean, he's just joined it with the intention of getting access to weapons.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you have Sita.
I thought she was his wife, but then in the scene you're describing, we find out that she's his sister.
I was about to say I thought that they were engaged.
But she's his sister.
Yeah.
But I swear they were engaged. But maybe it's a translation issue with the subtitles, maybe.
Well,
but I'm sure I remember them saying that they were like romantic. I even remember a scene later on where they sort of say to her, like, do you even think he's coming back? When's the last time he wrote to you? And it's, I think they refer to him as her husband or fiance or whatever. I'm sure. But then we find out that they're like, because they refer to him as Baba, the dad, and she refers to him as Baba. Although maybe that's just a sort of general sort of term. Maybe it means leader instead of father.
In many Slavic languages, Baba means grandma.
Babushka.
Yeah. You want to know something interesting? So remember, I said I'd look into the highest grossing films in India.
Yes, go on.
So according to Wikipedia, the highest is a film called Dangle, which grossed worldwide $311 million, the equivalent of. It's a Hindi film, and it's a sports thing, and it translates as wrestling competition. So it's something about a wrestling thing. Came out in 2016. The second highest is, I don't know how you pronounce this, which is also directed by the same director as
this is the one we need to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hubali. This is the one we need to watch.
Yeah, this is a sequel, I believe it must be. So it's an epic action film, and then after that, there's a third film called KGF Chapter Two. I guess another sequel to something. Looks also like it could be a historical thing, in another language, by the way. So another language I haven't heard of before, Canada. Never heard of it before.
Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood. But the thing is that Wikipedia is noting is RR, which currently comes as third, almost tying with coming fourth, almost tying with third place.
Yeah.
It still has the potential to beat some of these other films that are on this list, which is crazy.
Okay. Come on, RRR. You deserve it.
You deserve it.
They do. Well, speaking of Indian cinema, I was going to mention Sita, the actress who plays Sita. I don't know her name, but she was also in another quite well-known Indians film that was also, I believe, a Netflix original, but don't quote me on that, called Gangubai. There was a lot of hype about it, and I'm really glad I watched it. It's a very good film. So, yeah, I think it's a biographical about a real woman, and she's Sita. So this woman is very, very famous.
On Wikipedia, she's called Alia Bhatt, and she's actually British, by the way.
No.
Yeah, she's from the UK.
Oh shit!
And she works in Hindi films now. She's actually 29 years old, by the way, which makes it feel a bit weird if Raju was supposed to be engaged to her, because he looks a little bit older. He looks like he might be pushing 40 something.
I mean, yeah, but they're playing the same age.
Yeah, actually, he's only 37. Never mind.
They're playing the same age, though, or a similar age.
Speaking about age, can I just say a little ranty side note? Because we were talking before about characters playing, like we have a lot of old actors now. Like it feels like so much of who we know in Hollywood are old. They're at least in their 60s. The ones that really stick in your memory, the ones you really think about, right? And I was just thinking about this. I recently watched this Rowan Atkinson thing on Netflix with my daughter.
Oh no, not the B one.
Yeah, it's called Man v Bee, and I don't know why they made it this way. By the way, they made it like a kind of TV show. Each episode is like 10 minutes, but it should just have been a film. I don't know why they cut it like that. Maybe it's because it's easier for kids to watch. I don't know. They're experimenting, I think. Anyway, in this film, Rowan Atkinson, I don't know how old he is. He's in his 60s. I think he might be 67 years old. He has a daughter, his character, and he's divorced. And I'm just thinking, like, he's 67 years old. This kid looks about 10 to 12 years old. And like, are we still pretending that this guy who's closer to 70 is still like of the age of a regular dad? Like, when you think of a regular dad, you're thinking someone who's probably in his 40s, right? Yeah. Maybe 50s, maybe, but probably 40s. But this guy is 20 plus years older. It's like, I don't know. Just thinking about that, how we have all these older actors playing sometimes people that are like 20 years younger. It's a bit sometimes odd.
I mean, it happens. It used to happen more and more in Hollywood. And I mean, I think Ryan Reynolds is doing that now. Like, I don't think it's mattering how old he gets. He's still playing sort of mid-30s, and that's not going to change anytime soon, while he still looks like that. However, like, let's not forget that Indian cinema is very much, you know, in terms of like star power, and you know, it's a lot like the Hollywood star system that we learned at uni. You know, it's a lot more driven by, like, Humphrey Bogart was just super cool, and so he always had to play super cool characters. You know, Clint Eastwood was always a badass, so he always had to play badass characters. You know, that was just the nature of it, that you're the the image of the star became more important than the performance, and that it always informed on a character. Just hiring a particular actor to play them would be, providing context. And I think there's a lot of that in Indian cinema even today. So yeah, I reckon these two guys are going to continue being in films forever and playing the same age. I reckon they were 18 in this movie. They move like they're 18 in this movie.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's possible. Maybe there isn't such a big age difference. It's weird for myself now, because I just recently turned 30, to think that I'm now, that like I see people in films and I think that guy, yeah, looks probably older than I am, more like a star or something. Oh shit, that guy's the same age as me. Fuck, I feel fucking old now. Like it's a weird thing. Yeah.
I mean, soon,
Anyway.
soon we will not be burdened with these thoughts because we'll have the sweet release of death. Yeah, so let's get back into RRR. So so pretty soon after where we are at least, we get reminded that Ram is also a badass again, and a badass by him chasing down Beam's brother, and then torturing him, which is brutal. And it sort of reminds you, oh, hang on a minute, he's the bad guy in this movie. And so he tortures this guy and leaves him. And I think we have another scene, not important for what my point is. We cut back to him alone, and there's a snake in the room. So he thinks to himself, I know what I'll do. I'll tap the floor, encourage the snake to come to me, and then I'll catch the snake. Apparently, that's doable. And I'm going to throw it at the guy. I mean, it's brilliant, but it's bloody ridiculous. But it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And apparently, there's no cure to this snake bite. But don't worry, the next scene there is a cure. But for this scene, there's no cure.
Yeah.
And then we have Ram giving us a glimpse anyway that he's a good guy, though, because he lets him go. When he finds out he's dying of the snake venom, he's like, all right, I'll untie you and go live your life. Sorry, I had to torture you. So we get a glimpse that, yeah, okay, Ram is actually not a bad guy, but we've seen him up until this point only doing bad. So, well, besides the bromance stuff. So, I mean, look, in all fairness, though, I'm sure Indian audiences knew that he was a good guy from the get-go. But for us, he was the bad guy from the get-go. And we find out that he's a good guy later. So, we experience it a little bit differently. And then so Ram gets found by Beam because Beam's best friend senses were tingling. And they find each other. And Beam knows a cure for the snake venom. I mean, to be fair, though, I think that's because he was like a man of nature, right? I think that's what that's about.
Guess it's going with that, yeah, that assumption.
Yeah. Although, in all fairness, Beam is brother is the guy that said there's a cure. So you'd think he'd know that there is a cure. Maybe he's just saying that to freak Ram out. Who knows? But then in this sequence, while Ram is dying, he sort of realizes that Beam isn't Muslim because Beam starts praying while healing him. So he realizes he's not Muslim. So you see it across his eyes. And then Beam finally admits it to him. Like when he puts him to bed, he's like, yeah, I haven't been telling you the truth. I'm this guy. I'm here to find this girl, Mally. My name's Beam.
That's also the first time that you finally hear Bahim's real name. At first, you think he's Akhtar, and then they don't ever go into it till that point in the film. And also, by the way, so what happens next is quite crazy. So Bahim decides to the big plan with his guys is to, with all these animals that they've managed to collect, break into this huge party. By the way, there's lots of lights. Did you remember all the lights? The lights around the palace.
There's a lot of lights.
Yeah, which actually looks quite cool, but I don't think it was very for the time a thing. Anyway,
I mean, it's an insane set. Every set piece is insane.
It's pretty crazy. And then we have probably one of the most craziest scenes in the film, which is both very actiony and a bit gory as well, with all these animals slaughtering all these British soldiers.
I mean, there's something so cathartic seeing like a guardian of an Indian tribe and a whole slew of Indian animals just decimating through this sort of British compound. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
I love it. India fights back. Indian nature fights back. It's great.
Yeah. There's even, as the pitch meeting guy keeps says several times in his video, someone froze a leopard.
Yeah. Well, someone literally does throw a leopard. Is it good, the pitch meeting? I should watch it then, really.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
I'll have but for this movie, I'll have to give it a watch.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's so much of this movie to make jokes out of. He does indeed throw a leopard at a man, which is mental. But the CGI does not fully hold up in this scene. But it doesn't affect the scene. It doesn't make the scene less enjoyable, but it doesn't hold up. Well, it's doing well, but I mean, I'm sure that better could be done, is all I'm saying. But maybe that is only down to scope, though, perhaps, because the scope is so massive. You can only get so much right in one frame, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, for me, it's really not something I thought too much about. It's like, it's CGI. But then we have to talk about something else.
He also choke slams a motherfucker.
I don't remember that bit.
He choke slams a motherfucker. But yeah, go on. What do you need to talk about?
So, Ram returns. And so you were just talking about how he was poisoned, and somehow now he is better in a very short period, and he's just too strong. How can he? You just. Well, I don't know. But barely get out of bed, and then now he's like crazy strong again.
But we'd seen it in the first scene, though. Like the film that we met him, he gets absolutely the kicked out of him, and then he just limps back in, splashes some water on his face, and then he just boom, he's ready, and he just stands there again, really ready for battle. Like we'd seen it already in the first scene. To be fair, like his like very fast recovery time for fighting. So I bought it. But what I I love this scene actually, because we've got this theme of fire and water again. They constantly keep bringing this theme of fire and water that's representing these two characters. So we know that like fire and water, they're elements, they're elemental, and I feel like they're mirroring their representation of India, the kind of representation they make of India, both of these characters. So Beam is more in touch with nature, so that's why he's the water. Whereas Ram's plan, like Ram's, a thirst for revolution stems from violence, stems from gun use, and his entire plan revolves around guns. So that's why he's the fire. And it's only when these two things come together that we can truly get rid of the British. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
That's a pretty. I didn't like. I noticed obviously the fire and water themes, but I didn't really unpack it like that. That's really quite nice, actually. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't unpack it like that the first time I watched it. This has been after a second watching.
Yeah.
But what I love about this fight scene, though, is that when Beam like just before the water hose fireworks bit. But like Beam doesn't want to fight him. He sees him dressed as a police officer. He's like, "Why are you dressed as a police officer? I don't believe that you're the guy." And Beam is like pleading, like, it's almost like, "Don't make me fight you because you're literally like my brother. I love you." All this, like, and it's only when he loses the key to the compound to go and find Mally that it's like, okay, I gave you a chance. Now I'm going to have to fucking kill you. And they are like killing blows. All of these punches that they're throwing are killing blows. It's mental. And then we have him like catch him. He catches him and then he's hanging and he's like, "We'll kill Mally if you don't surrender." And he just starts fucking, he doesn't care if he drops him. He just starts beating him, while dangling. So fucking good.
There's also a naff bit just before that. So there's a knife that Rama has, and it changes between the two shots. Or is it a knife, or is it something? He has something sharp. I mean, it was a piece of wood.
Oh, he's got like a piece of I
think it was
rubble.
a piece of wood.
I think there's an explosion, some piece of rubble of some kind.
Yeah, I think it was wood. And in the shot where he's coming up to Bahim, it's blunt. It's not very sharp. But then there's a closer shot after that, and it's like a lot sharper. It's like, come on, man. Like, I know you get a bit bugged about the CGI, but for me, that kind of stuff bugs me more. When something changes from
just continuity errors.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. It should have made it sharper. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we've pretty much. I mean, we've been talking about this movie for 2 hours, and we've only really covered Act 1 and 2 at this point. So, because after this particular fight, you have that animated transition where, like, that, you've got the fire and water hands reaching to each other. So now we're like in the final hurdle of this movie. Do you mind if I take a little break?
Yeah, I actually quite need to pee.